Good evening, everyone. This is my bullying awareness presentation for EDL 951 Module 7, and my name is Antonia Villa. USD 218 Bullying Awareness. What is bullying? I think we all have an idea of what bullying is, but there is a short model bully plan that defines bullying as any intentional gesture or any intentional written, verbal, electronic, or physical act or threat either by any student, staff member, or parent towards a student, or by any student, staff member, or parent towards a staff member that is sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive that it creates an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment that a reasonable person under the circumstances knows or shall know will have the effect of the following. I can tell you that I never thought I would see actual bullying from a parent to a staff member, and going through that experience has been the most, I think, traumatic thing that I have ever gone through. The only thing I have to say about that is make sure you keep your documentation, and again, document. What happens is what we consider bullying in maybe a parent's eye or in the bully's eye herself, they may not understand that is hurting someone's feelings. All I can say is please keep documentation on everything. Cyberbullying, which is something that really sometimes we school districts have to take care of, even though it takes place outside of the school district, and so it makes it even more difficult to deal with. But for USD 218, we do have a short model bully plan that defines cyberbullying as bullying by use of an electronic communication device through means including but not limited to email, instant messaging, text messages, blogs, mobile phones, pagers, online games, and websites. As soon as I read the word pagers, I thought, nope, it's time for us to go back and revise our information, because I really haven't seen anyone with pagers, and this does not mention Snapchat, I believe, that's out there. It doesn't mention anything about Facebook postings, so all this needs to be revised. USD 218's short model bully plan also states additional bullying means any form of intimidation or harassment prohibited by the Board of Education of the school district and policies concerning bullying. This is where it gets really, really gray, because what we consider as bullying, it may be one of those things, depending on how your board feels, it may not fall under their what they would call intimidation or harassment, but I keep stressing, keep documentation on everything. If you have Power School, put all those discipline reports into Power School. This will help with documentation. Not that we're trying to get someone or get a student in trouble, but the more documentation you have, I feel like the more we can help both students. The discipline guidelines for student bullying may be found in student and employee handbooks. Offenses over time or single offenses which are severe in nature may result in discipline up to and including suspension and or expulsion or termination from employment. I can tell you that bullying, again, it took a lot of time. It just takes a lot of documentation. The part where it says the termination from employment, this is something, once again, for HR, you will need all the documentation, including times, dates, exact words and phrases that were used, actions. In our student handbook, bullying, harassment, we do have the information in there, and the only thing I can say about this is that everyone will interpret these differently, but I've learned that as an administrator, I have to have my own interpretation, and I'm sorry that it doesn't fit the bully's parents' definition. I use my interpretation of it, and we go on. Students are entitled to a positive and productive learning. At that moment, if students are having to stop their learning because of incidents that are going in the classroom that have to do with bullying, that to me is sufficient enough to it be considered bullying. So, in our student handbook, we did revise these about 4 years ago, and we did put this information in there. You know, if the violation is bullying, the first time they get in trouble, they get warning or an ISS. Second time they get in trouble, they get 1 day of OSS. Third day they get in trouble is the third time, that they get in trouble, it's considered 3 days OSS. And then you get to where if they continue, it's a long-term suspicion with a hearing. And this is where you will need your documentation, and it's not just yours, it's teachers, it's any staff who has any type of knowledge of or have seen anything that has to do with bullying go on. The more documentation you have, the more we can help both students. Again, we're not out to get the bully, we're out to help both students. I did look through our faculty handbook. It has nothing about bullying. This is an area that I will focus on, and I will share. This is an area that probably hurt me the most this year because I did not have anything in my faculty handbook to be able to say it states in the handbook you're not working up to the expectation that we're requiring of you. So that was a hard lesson to learn, but it will be in our handbook for this new year. Now let's go back to cyberbullying. Again, this is so difficult because it usually happens outside of school, but it's carried into our school. And when it's carried into my school anyway, I take care of it. I looked through my discipline reports and the ones that had to do with bullying. 64% of reported incidents last year in my middle school had to do with cyberbullying. It was ridiculous. It's I believe it's that Snapchat, and I think that's the one that erases the picture. There's so many new apps out there. It's hard to keep track of. But I did find in one of the readings that principals across the country report bullying through the use of computers, cell phones, or other electronic devices happens more frequently than in-person or office bullying. And I can tell you that it's like I tell my kids over and over again, my students, it's easier to say something through a text than it is face-to-face. The one thing I learned through the articles that we were assigned to read is there are 10 forms of cyberbullying. I was not aware of this, and this is something that, again, something that I will present to our staff for our new teacher orientation as well as our back-to-school orientation. There are 10 forms of cyberbullying. We have exclusion, harassment, outing, cyberstalking, and frapping. Never heard of this, but believe me, I will be looking into it even more. We also have fake profiles, dissing, trickery, trolling, and catfish. These will all be presented to my staff when we go back to school in August. I feel that they are important to share. Because it is, to me, we don't know the terms, and kids could be talking about it, and if we're not familiar with these terms, then without us knowing, they're talking about bullying, and we have no idea. So I am ready to educate my staff over the different types of cyberbullying. This was found in one of the articles that I read, and it did have more it had more definition to it, so I'll be able to share more of that. You know, it was asked to look at our mission and vision statement, and I will tell you that our mission and vision statement do not say anything about being safe. I'm not saying that that's not what we're striving for, but I do feel that just as the articles I read, it's important that the word safe is within our mission and vision statement, and that way we can correlate it with bullying awareness and just sending the message. We are against any type of bullying. These are all the references I used, and I do feel like this is a PowerPoint that I will be able to present to my staff. And I believe, I really do believe that even though we want to tell our students to be resilient anymore, they need help in knowing how to even be that. So to me, there's a lot of social emotional that is going on. We don't have a full-time counselor in the middle school. We have a full-time counselor at the high school, and we barely ended up with a counselor at the elementary for just an hour. So I believe that we need to work more on this as a district, but we will use the resources we have now. I also would like to be able to stress to students and staff how, things as much as like destroying somebody's property, they don't think about things like that. Placing a student or a staff member in reasonable fear of damage to the student's or staff member's property. Anytime a threat is made by saying, I'm going to hurt this, or I'm going to, even the words, I'm going to meet you after school and we'll, all those things add up to bullying. I do know that we have an excellent resource officer who does sit in on incidents, and also does a very good job of expressing how, bullying is not something that will be tolerated. And we call in parents, and the only thing I have to say about parents is the majority will understand, but the other majority will say, we don't consider that bullying. That's just part of life. And so I need to probably send a consistent message out of what bullying is and just stick to it. Thank you.